Hi, everybody. This is Gino Vanelli. You're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are those of the persons appearing on the program.
Today on Rainbow Country, Martha Johnson and Mark Gain, better known as Martha and the Muffins. We'll find out about their latest album, 2021's Marthology, the in and outtakes, and so much more. So, stay tuned for Gay Talk Radio right here on Rainbow Country.
Hi, this is Emily Saliers from Indigo Girls.
Hey everyone, this is Chris Harder, porn star, burlesque performer, and the creator of Porn to Be a Star. You're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
Well, hello and welcome to a brand new journey through Rainbow Country. As I like to call it, a little gay radio show working to give voice to the LGBT community and beyond. And as always, I am your tour guide through Rainbow Country. I'm producer and host, Mark Tara. By the way, Rainbow Country originates from CIUT FM in Toronto, and now proudly in syndication on 11 outlets across Canada. So whether you're listening in the Yukon, British Columbia, the Prairies, the East Coast of Canada in the Maritimes, Ontario, even down to Buffalo, New York, and online. Well, thanks to you tuning in, streaming, downloading, but ultimately listening. Together, we continue to build Rainbow Country into a nationally syndicated gay radio show, a #1 LGBT podcast on Podomatic.com's Gay and Lesbian chart, as well as being recognized as Canada's #2 LGBT podcast on Feedspot.com. So today, Martha and the Muffins. We'll find out about their latest album, 2021's Marthology, the in and outtakes, 12 rare singles, B-sides, and unreleased tracks. We'll also find out what inspired their global hit, Echo Beach. Plus in hour 2, music from LGBT recording artists, independent artists, voices that we've come to know and love in classic disco, classic 80s, classic house. And on this episode, I'll be featuring all gay male musical sets. So when I return, Martha Johnson and Mark Gain. Martha and the Muffins.
Bill 7, to ban discrimination in employment, government services, and housing, based on a person's sexual orientation, was up for a vote at Queen's Park. Most NDP and Liberal MPPs supported the bill, but without some progressive conservative legislators' backing, a divisive split could rack the province. 4 PCs decided to break party ranks to vote with their conscience and support Bill 7. Cabinet Minister and MPP Dennis Timbrell did it to show solidarity for his beloved brother, the well-known drag queen Rusty Ryan. And for me, a gay politician who was not yet out, I had to take a stand. We were known as the Gang of Four. I'm former Cabinet Minister and MPP Phil Gillies. The date, December 2nd, 1986, when LGBT rights came to Ontario.
Canada's LGBTQ2+ archives just released Out North, an archive of queer activism and kinship in Canada. Order a copy from your local bookstore to dive into hundreds of loud and proud stories and photos of historical queer life in Canada from pre-1939 to today. Get your copy from your local bookstore. Out North, an archive of queer activism and kinship in Canada.
Hi, everyone. This is Mark Tewksbury, Olympic champion, leader, humanitarian. You're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
Martha Johnson, Mark Gain, hi. How are you both?
We're good, Mark, and
hello, we're fine.
we're happy to be here.
Thank you both for being here to have your voices, your story be heard by the LGBT community and beyond. So thank you for that, especially to talk about Marthology, the in and outtakes, 12 rare singles, B-sides, unreleased tracks. Martha Johnson, how are you feeling that this new record is out to the world? How are you feeling about this?
I feel really good about it. I don't think we had a lot of expectations for it when we started putting it together. We just thought it would be something for our diehard fans around the world. But it's getting a lot of interest and hopefully a lot of listening. So I'm very happy we did it.
And Mark Gain, how are you feeling about having this new Martha and the Muffin Baby out there?
Well, it started out, our manager, Graham Stairs, had been asking us for years to put sort of what he called an odds and sods album out. And over the years, we would look at, or we'd listen to some of the things that we never released or half-finished songs or various demos and things. And we go, hey, that's pretty good. Maybe we should put that out because, as Martha says, our super fans want to hear anything and everything we do. And so putting this out kind of allowed us to reacquaint ourselves with some of the cuts that we had left behind. And I think it actually holds together as an album, even though the songs are very diverse because we're diverse songwriters and they cover a lot of, I think it covers about 35 years of stuff. And we were very careful to work on the song order. We wanted it to flow. And I think we accomplished that.
Yeah, somebody said it's entertaining.
So, Mark, do you consider this a compilation or is this essentially a new record? Because I'm sure a lot of listeners haven't heard a lot of these songs.
Yeah, well, it'll be a new record for those people that haven't heard any of it. And some of it was limited release stuff. But yeah, in that sense, it is a new record for a lot of people, even though all the songs are quite, in some cases they're decades old.
And they were recorded at different times, different places.
Martha, how long did it take you guys to put this record together?
Oh, I think it was about 6 weeks.
If you don't that's count pretty quick.
If you don't count the recording, but that's because of the help from our manager Graham Stairs and Linus, the distributor.
But yeah, as Martha says, if you don't count the recording of the songs, which I think the earliest goes back to '84, it actually fell together pretty quickly because I think we had a good idea of what we wanted to include after a first sort of going through the archives, and that came together pretty quickly. It seemed like, oh yeah, we're definitely going to put this one on. No, not that one. So it came together fast, I think, relatively.
So this is your 9th album, the first one, I believe, in 11 years. What inspired the two of you to put out this new record now?
It's kind of acting like a stepping stone to a brand new record we hope will come out in 2022. Because Martha's actually been working on new stuff for quite a few years. And, she'll keep showing me things that, she's working on and go, oh, that's really cool. Maybe I should I should put some guitar on it or something. And there's going to come a point where she's got all these songs that are almost finished, and then I've got to come in and put something just to finish them off. So the Marthology album we thought would be a good way to reintroduce people to the band, because we haven't been active for, as you say, 11 years. And kind of get people to remember, hey, yeah, we're still here, we're still alive, and we're actually going to put out a new album in 2022.
Mm-hmm. And Martha, you released a children's record?
Yeah, that was back in '95.
So this new music you've been creating, is it along the same line, or is it essentially new pop songs?
No, it's new adult alternative kind of music.
Okay.
You know, it's got a pop element to it, as all our music usually does. And Mark's working on other stuff, and I'm working on other stuff as well. So we're pretty busy.
Outside of Martha and the Muffins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do. We've been collaborating with a lot of younger, primarily female singers on various co-songwriting projects. And one thing we've got in the works is under the name Dazzle Field, and it's basically breakup songs. And we've got 3 of them done. When that comes out, I don't know, because I think we'd like to get about 5 to 8 songs so that we can put a EP or album out, and they're all heartbreak songs. So we're finding that younger writers get heartbroken more often.
Those have a deeper cut, I think.
Or yeah,
possibly.
And so it's a rich world for writing songs too.
And then we have another entity called Chemical Dreams, where we can put anything out. And I wrote a song about David Bowie after he died, because I was quite moved by his departure. And another song that we did with John Orpheus. And it was very different again. So it's fun, right, to collaborating with other people, a whole new influence.
So Martha, talk to me about one particular track. Don't Monkey with My Love. A great little funky track. I love it.
Oh, that's good.
When did you originally do this track?
Well, that's one of the oldest, isn't it?
Let me look. I've got the liner notes here, Mark. Hold on.
Okay.
Okay. According to the liner notes, which we did in fact write, but unfinished demo intended more as a song to be covered by another artist. Performed and recorded by Mark and Martha at the Web, Toronto/Bath, 1986 to 89. So this was a song that we started. For a while we lived in Bath, England, and we had our little home studio in our bedroom, and we were doing a lot of recording for an album called Modern Lullaby, which came out, I think, in 92. But in the meantime, we were doing all this stuff. And Don't Monkey with My Love was a song that as the liner notes attest, that we thought we would get somebody else to cover. But, I think Martha sang it so well, and it's got a pretty simple arrangement because it's basically a half-finished song. So, you've got a basic rhythm track, you got the little funky guitars that I played, and then Martha's great vocal. And
I like playing with the words too.
Yeah, there's a lot of fun with that.
Taking the words like, don't monkey with my love, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil to me. And I love getting a title first, and then I write the lyrics after I get the title.
Wow. It's a great little track.
I'm glad you like it.
Well, I think somebody described it as a dance hit waiting to happen. So, if anybody's listening who's a cool artist and wants to do a cover version of it, please feel free.
Yeah.
So Martha and the Muffins, M+M, 2 great names, 1 great band. Mark, how did this name, Martha and the Muffins, what's the story behind this name?
The original name came because in the summer of 77, when the band was getting together and we were working on our first songs, the other thing that was happening, we were quibbling over what name to give the band. And so people would bring in various names and nobody could agree on anything. And then our first show happened at the Halloween party at the Ontario College of Art in Toronto. And the poster had to be made, And one of the members of the band that passed through never actually stayed as a permanent member, but he suggested the Muffins, as it was the antithesis of all the punk names that were kind of in fashion at the time. And somebody said, well, let's put Martha in front of it. So we thought, okay, we're going to put this on the poster. It'll be the one gig, then we'll find a cool name like Talking Heads or Voice of the Beehive or something like that, or and it never happened. The name stuck, and it turned out that people liked it. And that's how the band name came about. And then with the M+M, I have to take total responsibility and blame for this, because at a certain point I decided I was really sick of being called a muffin.
He doesn't look like a muffin.
I don't look like a muffin.
No, neither you do.
I realized that it's a term of endearment, but I was just going, okay, at that point I was probably in my 40s, and I was going, how long am I going to be called a muffin for? So I decided that we should decide to change it to an abbreviation, because we'd kind of ended the band format and we were more like a duo at that point. This is around 84. So I said, how about M+M? And I applaud you, Mark, because you actually called it M+M. Most people call us M&M, and we go, no, it's M+M, and so that didn't translate. And it was kind of like that whole thing with Coca-Cola years ago when they came out with Classic Coke and then rebranded it, and it was a total disaster. So that when we had this dance hit called Black Stations, White Stations in 84, nobody really made the connection between Martha and the Muffins and M+M. Like Martha and Muffins, oh yeah, they did Echo Beach and etc. And then M+M did Black Stations, White, and there wasn't a real bridge there. So that at a certain point, we'd run into fans, and we took a informal poll and said, what name do you like better? They always liked Martha and the Muffins better, so we went back to that.
And at what point did you go back to that? Like in the 80s or 90s?
No, we went back to that when we did that bedroom album in Bath, England called Modern Lullaby, and that's when we went back to the original name.
So I believe 1978, Insect Love was your first single. You guys have had a number of singles that went around the world, international hits, Song in My Head, Women Around the World at Work, Cooling the Medium, Black Stations, White Stations. Those three tracks in particular were produced by Danielle Lanois, superstar producer, who went on to produce Brian Eno, U2, just to name two. How did the two of you originally meet, Danielle Lanois?
Our original bass player had left the band, Carl Finkel, and we were looking for a new bass player. And Jocelyn Lanois,
his sister,
came and auditioned for us, and we liked her playing, and she was part of the band. And she mentioned that she had brothers who had a studio in Hamilton by the name of Grant Avenue Studios. And we didn't think it would be a really big studio or anything to write home about. When we got there, it was a beautiful studio, really well run. And we had a lot of fun creating with Dan, because he was a very open-minded kind of producer. So that's how we first met him.
But basically, Jocelyn, when we first met her, she said, well, I have two brothers who have a studio in Hamilton. We went, okay, yeah, and as Martha says, we went and checked it out, and we got on so well with Dan that we ended up doing 3 albums with him. And that's before he was famous at all. I mean, at least certainly the first album we worked on with him, which was our third, called This Is the Ice Age, and that's the album that Women Around the World at Work came out on.
In fact, Virgin, who we were signed to in England, wanted us to not use Dan and get somebody who was well known as a producer. So things turned around.
They basically Virgin said,
Cut your budget.
Yeah, they cut our budget because they said if you want to use this guy nobody's ever heard of, you're going to have to take £10,000 less on your budget. And we went, fine, if that means you'll leave us alone to work with this guy, that's great, and we consider that album to be still, I think, one of our favorites. It was a real switch stylistically, and
growth as songwriters.
Yeah, growth as songwriters, and it marked a very great working relationship with Dan for the next 2 albums after that.
So that's how you met Danielle Lanois. So, Martha, how did you meet Mark originally?
It was through a common friend, David Miller, who was at Ontario College of Art as well. And I had been in a couple of bands. Well, one band called Oh Those Pants with David, and I had an 8-tone organ, and I could sing somewhat, and he just got us together, and that's when I met Mark the first time we had a rehearsal.
And you guys have been together ever since.
Yeah, well, we weren't together romantically at the beginning. That came back in 1981.
Yeah, it took a few years.
And on that note, we will return after this Rainbow Country update.
I'm Brian Bradley, author of Outrageous Misfits, female impersonator Craig Russell and his wife, Lori Russellidi. You are listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Terra.
So, it's a brand new year. Happy 2022. I wanted to take this time to let you know what I have planned over the next few weeks. Rat Chat Magazine, Canada's newest publication that crosses the spectrum of flesh and ideas. I'll be joined by writer, filmmaker, and now publisher, Nora Rosenthal, to find out all things Rat Chat and what inspired that name. Reverie TV, the world's first LGBTQ streaming platform. I'll be chatting with the CEO and co-founder, Damien Pelliccioni, who is also Hollywood's first gender non-binary CEO. And coming up next week, Olympic bronze medalist, Olympic silver medalist, Olympic gold medalist, 2-time world champion, 2-time 4 continents champion, Grand Prix finals champion, and a 7-time Canadian Nationals champion. Peers figure skater Eric Radford will be my guest. All that and more coming up over the next few weeks.
Hi, my name is Joanne Vanicola, and I'm an actor and a writer, and I was first on Rainbow Country with Mark Tara on discussing the massacre at Pulse Club in Orlando. I realized how important it was for our community to have a radio station, specifically for our issues, to talk about people in the LGBTQ community and to provide an outlet for our stories, to discuss our politics, culture, and give voice to the issues that matter to us, and of course our artists and the things that we do globally, and talk about culture. And without people like Mark Tara providing a space for this with a radio show like this, then we wouldn't have that voice. So support, tune in. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Keegan Hurst, former professional rugby player, coach, raving homosexual, and you're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
So Echo Beach, the single that went around the world, top 5 in Canada, top 6 in Australia, top 10 in the UK, reached number 11 on the Irish charts, reached number 37 on the Billboard Dance Chart, won the Juno for Single of the Year, and I believe has close to 30 million streams on Spotify. The album, Metro Music, that featured Echo Beach, went gold. In 2005, the song was named the 35th greatest Canadian song of all times on CBC Radio 1 series 50 Tracks. How did Echo Beach come about? What inspired the song originally?
Well, Mark can answer that because he wrote the song. So take it away, Mark.
Okay, well, a couple of years before the band got together, I had a summer job at a wallpaper factory. And as the summer job person, my job was to separate the bad wallpaper from the good. And what I mean by that is that the factory had these huge presses that printed the design on the wallpaper. And it seemed like quite frequently something would go wrong and they'd grind it to a halt. They'd take this giant roll off and roll it over to me. And then I would have to hand wind the whole thing off and separate the stuff that hadn't been damaged from the stuff that was damaged. So as you can imagine, this wasn't exactly rocket science. So your mind was free to wander where it did. And the germ of the idea was that I'd rather be somewhere else than here. And so when I was writing this song, I couldn't very well say my job is very boring. I'm a wallpaper inspection clerk.
Gonna roll off the tongue.
Yeah, that wasn't really.
I wouldn't have wanted to sing it that way either.
Yeah, I mean, Martha probably would have refused to sing that anyway, but so I had to find something more universal. And I thought, well, an office clerk, that's a hard job, to be in all the time. Or I imagined that was the case, and the second verse came from a night that a friend of mine who owned a motorcycle and I rode down to Sunnyside Beach on Lake Ontario. And I think we'd smoked a bit of weed and we were looking out there, and looking back at the city seemed like a surrealistic sight. So basically those two ideas came together in the song.
And you were also trying to write a song that Brian Ferry would sing.
That's right.
Lyrically.
Yeah, at the time, Martha and I and some other people in the band were huge Roxy Music fans. And when it came to the lyrics, I thought I was very influenced by Brian Ferry. And I thought, well, how would he do this? And you can imagine, I think you can actually imagine Brian Ferry singing the lyrics to Echo Beach, because I know it's out of fashion and a trifle uncool, but I can't help it. I'm a romantic fool. Like it's so like Noel Coward, and from there to Brian Ferry, like it's more like a 1940s or 30s tongue-in-cheek song, lyrically about being on holiday.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys ever reach out to Brian Ferry when the song was a hit?
Well, they asked us, Roxy Music asked us to open for them in the UK and Europe. And we did do that. We were on tour with them. We did London, Wembley, and we did a show in Glasgow. And then Brian Ferry came down with kidney stones.
Yeah, kidney stones, and they had to cancel the rest of the tour.
They canceled the rest of the tour.
But we did play with them, as Martha says, at Wembley Arena in London and the Glasgow Apollo.
And the band was very friendly, except for Brian Ferry, like before he got sick. Maybe he wasn't feeling well. But he never came back to say hello.
But, we had good talks with Phil Manzanera and Andy McKay and their manager and stuff. And, it was quite something to open for them. And just as an aside, the Glasgow Apollo was notorious for its super high stage. It was like 20 feet high. Nobody could explain why it was so high, but they had warned us because, we were opening for Roxy. So all of our stuff was at the front of the stage. They said, whatever you do, do not go near the edge of the stage, because I believe there was somebody who fell off and broke their leg or something. So who knows why they designed it that way, but it was crazy high.
So, Mark, when you were originally writing Echo Beach, at the time, was there an Echo Beach somewhere?
Well, that question has been asked many, many times, and it's a natural question because people, when the song came out and did well, people from all over the world would, at the time, write fan letters or comments going, "Oh, I know the one you're talking about. You're talking about the one in Australia, or you're talking about the one here or there." And it wasn't about a specific place. It was about a state of mind. And, when I came up with the name Echo Beach, it was more a mind thing. And it was only after the song became popular that people started telling us that there were real Echo Beaches all over the world, in fact.
And people have also named strange things after the song. Mark has a list of things that he's...
Like a restaurant in Toronto called...
Is there?
Echo Beach Restaurant, isn't there?
Well, if there is, that's a new one. But do you want to hear the partial list I have?
Yes.
Okay, so the most recent one probably is the Toronto venue down at Ontario Place.
That's the one. That's the one I'm talking about.
Oh, okay, yeah. So we got that. And there was a UK television series. There's resorts in Bali and Zanzibar. There's a racehorse, a German dub record label that does dub music, a science fiction short story, an iris, the flower, dance piece, an Australian youth hostel, and the latest one, I think, is an online game called Greetings from Echo Beach, Far Away in Time, where the protagonist is not an office clerk. It's a science fiction scenario where music is illegal, and this person's job is to hunt down musicians and arrest them, or worse, I think.
Wow. You've done some homework.
It's not so much that, it comes to us.
Okay.
Yeah, like it's and we're talking about a 40-year span. All this stuff didn't happen, last week, but it's cumulative.
I think it's fair to say that when you write a song, when you record a song, when you release a song, you don't necessarily know if it's going to be a hit, if the world will accept it, essentially. Were the two of you surprised at the reaction to Echo Beach, especially around the world?
Definitely. I think it surprised everybody. I mean, I think that was one of the reasons we got signed to the label. But you never know whether a song's going to hit or not. So we were all surprised. We would get phone calls from Virgin in England when we were in Toronto, and each week it would be, song Echo Beach is at 62 in the charts, and then the next week it'd be it's at 31, 15, and they just kept going up and up and up. And it was great playing over there when the song was really at its peak. There's nothing like coming out on stage and having an audience that enthusiastic about what you're going to play. Okay.
There's a song of yours, "Stay at Home and Dance." Was this recorded during the pandemic, during the lockdown?
Yes, and that was another idea of our manager. It was based on a song on a much older album called Mystery Walk, and the original song was Come Out and Dance. And he said, why don't you do a new version?
Stay Home and Dance,
because this was at the very beginning of the pandemic, and nobody really knew what was going on, and it was a sense that there was something happening that was probably out of our control. And it was also, so we did a new version called Stay Home and Dance, and it also was inspired by a quote by the House Speaker Nancy Pelosi in the U.S. Congress, who said at the time, there's nothing better than dancing at home, especially if nobody can see you. And we thought, oh, that's, it's all tying in here. And when we made the little video to go along with it, we used home movie footage of our daughter when she was about, 2 or younger, dancing around the kitchen, combined with footage of an art piece I did in 1975 where I wrapped my parents' house in wallpaper, the same wallpaper that I was sorting at the factory.
All ties in.
Why didn't you put this song on Marthology?
Well, it had been fairly recently out. I think that's one of the reasons. And what maybe you particularly didn't want it to be.
I thought that, I agree. I think it was too soon. And I kind of wanted to put the more weird stuff on first. And of course, as we were working on Marthology, I was already thinking what we could put on for Marthology Volume 2. And I think, other people have noted that too, Mark, that Stay Home and Dance is not on it. But maybe that sets the stage for a second volume. But I don't think we have a good answer for that, really.
Mm-hmm. Stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned.
Random question. Is there a mural of Martha on the muffins on like an electrical box or a foam box in Toronto on Queen and McCall?
Yes.
There is indeed, yeah. And that came about, we were approached by an artist named Julie McMillan, and there was some funding involved for honoring early Queen Street bands. And I wish I could remember the name of the guy who was involved in this, and I'm sorry that I can't right now. But Julie, she approached us and said, I was told to pick one of the bands from that era, and I picked you because I've always been a fan. And so she did, she asked for archival material like any early photographs from the day, things like that. So we provided her with all this stuff, and from that she made a mural. So the mural that you're talking about is on a foam box on McCall Street, which kind of, the foam box in itself is like the epicenter of where we used to be back in 77, because it's literally steps away from the Ontario College of Art and Design, as it's now called. It steps away from St. Patrick Street, and if you know where the Rex Hotel is, right across the street on St. Patrick is a little building at number 4. That was our rehearsal spot. And up until about 2 years ago, there was the old Brinks building just south of the Art College. That used to be the experimental arts wing of the college, and that's where the sound lab was, where we did a lot of recording and stuff. So, and also the Beverly Tavern. It was right there along Queen Street. So there's a lot of music history there, and I think it was very well cited. Mm. And she did a great job. It was quite an honor to be,
memorialized. Hello.
Yeah. And in that spot.
Yes. Love it. I have to say, I am multiracial. So when Black Stations, White Stations came out, I was like all over that song because I'm like, what? He was black, she was white, what?
Well, you know what? At the time.
So fantastic.
Yeah, like at the time, there was all this, like we were naive, right? Because when we were touring in the States, there were all these like Black Station, White Station formats, which I don't believe was ever the case in Canada. And we were going, what? Like Black Stations, wait. And at the time, there was this huge controversy about whether Michael Jackson was going to get played on White Stations. And of course, he put out Thriller, and the rest is history. But there was a lot of talk about whether he was going to like break through to the White Stations. And, as musicians, we found this incomprehensible.
And it got to number 2 on the Billboard dance charts, but then Prince put out When Doves Cry and beat us to the number 1 spot.
Hey, what better than to be beaten by a Prince?
Yeah, I know.
That's what we say.
That's why it's a good story.
Fantastic. That's such a great song. I love that song. And a lot of your videos are so cool. Like, what is it? Song in My Head? You guys are like going around in that thing?
Yeah. Very dizzying.
I would think. And your extras, so much fun.
Yeah, they had a good time.
They're just ordinary people.
Fantastic. Thanks again for your time.
All right.
Thank you, Mark.
Nice meeting you.
Marthology, the in and outtakes, 12 rare singles, B-sides, and unreleased tracks is out now and available wherever you get your favorite music. And for all things Muffins, you can find them in social media as well as on Facebook. Martha and the Muffins.
Hi, this is Police Constable Danielle Botno, also known as LGBT Cop, and you're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
And just like that, this little gay journey through Rainbow Country has come to an end. For the full 2-hour episode, just head over to marktara.com where everything is connected and hit the archives banner. To keep up to date with the show, follow me on socials at Mark Tara Music. The podcast is available on all major platforms, including audible.com. And finally, I want to take this time to thank you for taking your time to be with me. Remember, stay well and stay safe.